That's what the shadow voice always wants to do. But also recognize that you have a shadow and the person that you're married to also has a shadow. And so we're all battling voices all day long. So like the sister, you asked a similar question to Sister Shirley earlier. It's very individualized to say, oh, it's time to go. But there are times when it's time to go. I don't imply for a moment that you should stay with someone who is actively abusing you in any way, shape, or form. But it does require some contemplation. I never advise a woman to stay simply for the sake of finances. That's not a reason to stay. It's never been a reason to stay. And it is. I see women that come to me for counseling and they've gone to religious leaders for guidance, and the religious leader will say, oh, well, you can't leave because you got 4 kids and you don't have no money. So just stay and take the garbage that's being fed to you. I'm not implying that at all. But I do think that we have to weigh it and really look at the total picture. The total picture of what we're experiencing. Is this person, so the Pharaoh, what we're talking about Pharaoh, in modern, like the sister was talking about, in modern psychological definitions, is narcissistic personality disorder. I mean, people are sick. There are people who are ruled by demons, and we believe that in most every spiritual tradition, we believe that is the truth. So the first thing that I recommend anyone do is talk to someone to really get some real clear guidance, and to perhaps even weigh the guidance that makes sense or the guidance that doesn't necessarily make sense, to hear both, but to really sit with a decision. Now, if your life is in danger, then you might have to make a split decision. Mm-hmm. But even that, I invite people to just sit for a moment and breathe for a moment and make a decision from that place. If I were to use even my own marriage as an example, anybody have teenagers? Okay. So the cultural difference reached a head when my daughter turned 15. And I realized that I was married to someone from another planet. And I was also raising somebody from another planet. And I was the only person in that house who lived on Earth, right? Like, what the heck? And there were moments in my marriage where I felt fully capable of murder. Like, I could kill him, I could kill her, or I could just, I didn't want to kill myself, but I wanted freedom from them. And my daughter's 19 now, and it just got better. We had 4 dark years of oh my gosh, somebody's not gonna make it. When she was about 14, she had a horrific fight with my husband, and my husband's very strong, physically strong. But he held my daughter down, and she went into high drama mode. He didn't hit her, but he was holding her, calm down. And she went down, and oh my gosh, it was just so much. And she wanted to call the police, and it was just so much drama. And so in that moment, after that, I saw them have that fight, I was like, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave you. I'm leaving you. And then so I went out for a drive, and I sat by myself, and I went into prayer. And I went into contemplation, and I literally saw my daughter's shadow, my husband's shadow, and my own shadow in this clash, But I was the only one that could see all that. And I saw my husband's lineage and all the men before him and how they handle situations, and I realized they didn't have to handle situations. It was all a bunch of women handling all this discipline, mm-hmm. and he just gave out candy. You know what I mean? In his village, that's all the men did. The men would come and cry, and the brothers give out candy. Everything's fine. So I had to realize that his shadow was telling him, "You're not being a man in this house." And my shadow was saying, "You don't make enough money in this house." And her shadow was saying, "All of y'all are stupid because y'all so religious." And so everybody's shadow was showing up. So whose shadow had to get cleared first was mine. I had to clear the voice inside of me that was judging my child, judging my daughter, judging our relationship, that really, 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 that shadow always wants you to be by yourself. So it showed up to try to make me break up with him. But was he evil in those days? Yes. Like really, like he was really mean. And it's so funny because right now, I brought it up recently, he has no idea what I was talking about. What are you talking about? And I was like, you're so sweet again. I love you, just like 1996. And he's like, what are you saying? I never did that. Isn't it amazing, right?
That was a perfect answer. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I just said, I love you like 1996. And he knows exactly what that means. That means before children, holding hands, walking down the street, skirt up to here, and you're not tripping, right? You just love me. Nails out to here, like everything. And he just adored me. I was like, I love you like 96. Eating chebujen out the same, that was my little sad, out the same bowl, just those moments, But I think what happens, people don't seek those moments in the beginning of the relationship. And so if you don't have that in the beginning, it's certainly very difficult to have that when your beloved shadow shows up, But we have to really look at everyone through that lens of mercy before we decide whether it has to end. And sometimes it does have to end.
Wow.
I hope that answered the question.
That does. It does. So this was one problem that I had, and a lot of women who have either been, it doesn't have to be a failed marriage, it might be a failed long-term relationship or a short-term relationship, and they're moving on to the next relationship. They carry the baggage from that, and it might be a relationship between their father and them, or an ex-husband and them. They carry that baggage into the new relationship and don't give that new relationship a chance to survive. I didn't know I was doing this until my new husband told me when we were courting. He said, I would like you, and he speaks very softly, that he would like me to please charge him for crimes that he commits. That he is tired of paying for crimes that my ex-husband committed. And I was like, okay. And then I realized, like, it's true. Every time he would do something, I would already start to fight because I was in the other mode. How do you know you are carrying baggage from an old time? How do you know?
You are always carrying baggage from an old time. Because, the heart remembers, abandonment, betrayal, or rejection. The heart knows these things. The trick is this working? Can you hear me on this?
Yes.
So what I have discovered, and it's so simple and we don't do it enough, is what happens when you take that breath, when you breathe and so women are not taught to make their belly soft, but really if you take a breath and make sure your belly is soft right now. So when your belly is soft and you take a deep breath, that turns off your fight-flight response. Because you're not taking a deep breath and in danger at the same time, right? So the body does this and tenses up and gets ready to fight. And that's our default all the time. So you're either going to fight, or you're going to play dead, or you're going to leave the house, right? And none of those things really work well for intimacy, right? So what I guide people to doing is taking a deep breath. And so when you take that breath, and for some of us it has to be 4 or 5 minutes, it lets you do exactly what I was talking about earlier. Who am I really listening to? Is it August 19th, 2017? Or is it April 22nd, 2004? Is this my beloved, the man who thinks I'm amazing in front of me? Or is this that other guy who told me I wasn't worthy of anything? Is this my father? Who is in this space? But it cannot happen if you don't take the pause, because our default is to do one of those 3 things, right? And the fight may be a physical fight, or it may be a tongue lashing, which women are very much more capable of, right? That's our default. Well, you can't fight a man with a fist. Like, that's just not realistic, right? He's stronger than you, even if he's 4'2". He's stronger than you, right? That's just the way we are created. Men are physically stronger than us, so we can't lash a man with a fist. We have to have a weapon, and our tongue is a sword. Oh, and it lashes at them like nobody's business. And I was just with a couple yesterday who had this experience. This woman, it's funny how we're talking about wealth as well. She was initially married to a very wealthy anesthesiologist. And he was a demon. I mean, on the inner, he was horrible to her. And now she married this sweet guy. He's so sweet. He's like, I just love you. I just love you. It's every week. He's like, I just love you. But he's saying that to her, like, why? Why am I being punished for this guy? You know, I just love you. He just adores her. And he comes in, he takes off his shoes, he puts up his feet, he moves her chair closer, and she's just looking, waiting for him to do something horrible to her so she can say, see, you just like him. She's been waiting 4.5 years for this man to do this. So, you know, I tell her, you must breathe before engaging with this man. You must sit and decide, is this Mark in the room? Mark isn't there, I'm just making up. Is this Mark in the room or is this Don in the room? Who's in this room? And she's finally able to do that. And so the last time she came in, she brought in what this man did to her in taking her children from her was horrible. And he had the money, he had the funds and the political clout to make it happen because he has that disorder. And so what I said to her is like, people like your ex-husband, they have this disorder, and in their minds, all they want to do is win. They want to win, and it doesn't matter that he took your kids. He just wanted to win. He doesn't love your kids more than you. This man you're married to actually loves your kids more than their biological father. And she has adult children now, but she's still trying to heal from this wound. So she brought in all the court documents. And I was like, so what are we doing with these documents? How long I never seen anything like it. She had like big fat binders of every single interaction with this man. And so I said to her, just like I say with text messages, delete it, delete it, delete it. And so even like our previous hurts, when they show up in our minds, we have to press the delete button that's in our imagination, because the imagination is real and it's very powerful, and you all know what I mean, right? You can fantasize right now about anything you want, and you can make it as real as you want it to be. So it's real. So I tell people, did you press the delete button? They come into my office sometimes. Look what he said, and I go, oh, that's nice. Yeah, like we're not doing this. You don't pay somebody to fight. You pay for peace and reconciliation. Even if you're breaking up, it's for peace. And I tell people that all the time. I can't guarantee you're gonna stay together, but I can guarantee if you follow what I'm telling you to follow, you will have peace, so that you don't take all this into your relationship with somebody else. And so that's my whole desire. I can't guarantee that we don't get married. Actually, I don't think there's anything so terrible about it. I think our culture kind of has it twisted, in that our culture doesn't judge people that have multiple sex partners, but we look down on people who've been married 3-4 times. I don't really understand how we came to that. So even my people who come to me that have no religion, I'm just like, so I'm not understanding. Like, why is that a problem? So if you slept with 20 men, it'd be no big deal, but you marry 4, it's a problem? What's the problem? 4 men said they would love you for life? That's a lot. I mean, that's amazing. I know women still searching for the one. Come on, get over that. I have, really. So that's my guidance is, sometimes it involves journaling. Sometimes it involves setting things on fire. Like seriously, putting things on fire and burning them, releasing it, burning sage in your house, like letting this stuff go. And while our practice is to pray 5 times a day, we still don't always know what the deeper meaning of what we're doing and what we're striving for. It's just a movement. But the structure is wonderful, but it creates roots of healing for us that we have to strive for. So I guide people in creating whatever ritual works for you, but come up with a ritual so you can let go of this and be present for that.
Wow. Whoa, I have two more questions.
Okay.
Because I can ask you questions all day. So, can a relationship survive infidelity and or abuse? Can a marriage survive that, and what does it take for that survival to happen?
Oh, okay. So those are two different things.
Yes.
Two very different things. So the first question about infidelity, yes, marriage can survive infidelity. It's hard though. Your stomach's gonna hurt. Your heart's gonna ache. And it requires a lot of truth telling. And you know, like the sister who, it was so brilliant that you had Sister Shirley right before me, because I think it was perfect segue.
I did.
You know,
On purpose.
is she's so brilliant. You know, looking at yourself and looking at your contribution to the challenge. And I'm not necessarily saying that it's your fault if your beloved is unfaithful, because it's about looking at how you contributed and looking at how he contributed and looking at those two together and coming up with an answer. So one of the things that I have done, I don't like holding this mic. It's okay, this right here. So one of the things that I have done with couples that are struggling with that, this is some powerful stuff right here, is we do the family tree and we lay it out. And so if infidelity is the problem, I want them to look at sexual patterns in their families. So I had this one couple, the husband he got caught in a massage parlor. They still exist. Like, I didn't even know they still existed. Like, will you go for the massage with a happy ending? Like, yeah. Yeah. He went for one of those and got arrested. That's a law's mercy. You got caught. That's a merciful thing, because you shouldn't have been there. Like, really. So even if you want to be unfaithful to your wife, you can still honor by having a decent affair, for God's sake. That's how I felt about it. Like, that's just indecent. But, however, when we did their family tree, and we looked at her family and looked at his family, her family, I said, think about every permutation of the people before you, because you don't know all the details. So what did she have? 3 generations of women who slept in separate beds with their husbands. And what did he have? 3 generations of men who cheated on their wives. We put these two together. Now you guys see why y'all together? There's the mirror, right? It's an inverse mirror, but it's a mirror nonetheless. You needed to heal from all these men, because these men, they just straight up cheated. Like, they
betrayal on both sides.
Exactly. These men were not having sex with their wives anymore, and these wives are just like, go. But then there was no heart in the relationship, and these women stayed, but still there was no heart. So that, I'm telling you, when you show, particularly an African American man, that they come from a lineage of not being allowed to be in intimate partnership with a woman, it blows them away. Because that is one of the legacies of slavery that we are still working through. And they're like, oh my God. I had this one brother in my office, and he just started crying. He was like, I am not an animal. I am not an animal. I'm not like my grandfather and my great-grandfather. Because they all just had all these women, all these babies, and, funerals, and 3 or 4 babies showing up. You guys, we all know this scene. This is not new to any of us. And he's looking at that, and he looks at his wife, he's like, I'm not an animal. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm looking at this picture, and I want to change. And so it's not necessarily that he was this horrible being, but he needed to change. So what is required is a willingness to self-reflect, to look at your patterns, to look at his patterns, to look at how you ended up together, and understand that even that is divinely purposeful. That both of you need to heal from what has happened in your family line. But no, your stomach is going to hurt. Like, there is no way you can experience infidelity and not have a stomach ache. I mean, seriously, it like physically hits you, and have a stress response, and have even some chronic illness show up from it, because your immune system is going to be impacted by it. And our default is to simply dismiss the person who cheated. And my work is to guiding everybody to not dismiss, to say that the behavior is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. But to look at how we landed in this place. And if both parties are willing to close the exits, then both parties have to be willing to close the exit. Like, I'm not going to work with you and you tell me that you're still in an active relationship with this woman named Carol, trying to work it out with, with Flora. Like, I can't do that. And I'm very clear about that. But if you're willing to close the exit, honoring that you have feelings for this other person but still want to be in relationship with this woman, then we can work. And I'm very clear. Like, I understand you have feelings for this other person, but you're breaking her heart. And you cannot unbreak her heart by still doing this. And then I'd give her the same instruction because she's very competent at cutting him with her tongue. She's usually fully competent. So it's a long, drawn out interaction, and it's about really packing away the pain every day and a willingness to be truthful and honest. And one thing that I think we're lacking in our community is men who really defer to other men. And I don't think we have that as much as we used to. We're like an elder said, "Brother, come on, what are you doing? Get your act together. Stop that." We have less and less of that. And I know even in my own family story, my parents were not married. My mom got pregnant with me. And my father went into a depression. This is a true story. He was 18. He was 18 when he met my mom, and she already had a baby. So I thought he was amazing for even being in a relationship with her. Then she got pregnant with me, and he was like 21 in college. And he left my mother and went into a depression. And I understand there was a whole bunch of other things happening in his life. And my mother, they love this story now. They still together. My mother tells the story that she came walking down the street to tell my father, "Look, it's either me or her or what's up." I mean, I'm translating. Straight up black girl talk, right? And my father, he said he was gambling all night. He came out from, in the Bronx, you can gamble all night in these little hole in the wall. So he comes out of the building and he sees my mother. He said, "Your mother was big and fat and pregnant." And this old brother on the stoop said, "Yo, Diggs, is that your girl?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "You know what to do." And he pointed to my mother. And they both merged together on that story. My father says, "I walked over to your mother and we walked away. And we've been together ever since." But it was hard. It was so hard. But it was this elder looking at him like, "Come on, man." And I don't think we do that enough. I don't think our men, like, we have each other to defer to. We can go to the sisters talking about somebody coming up to her at Juma and saying, "I need help." I don't know if our men are really getting that. And I know my husband had it in Senegal, and I forced him to have it here. Because I'd be like, "Oh, y'all do what over there? Oh, we doing that here." Sure. Oh, I'm into that. And so I would call his friends and say, "He did blah, blah, blah." And they will call him, "You did what?" And so it gets resolved, it gets squashed, he respects them. But I think we're losing that. And because men by nature are kind of like isolated anyway. And so when they pull away and they go into themselves, who do they have for a frame of reference? But their own minds and the internet. But we have each other for a frame of reference. And so I think that to the best of our abilities, if we can encourage men being together without feeling threatened by our beloveds going out and being with other men. Because I see a lot of sisters that do that. "Oh, you're going out with..." Please, for God's sake, let him go out with a man. Because you need a break, but he needs a friend. Men need friends, even if they say they don't. They need friends. Right? So, I mean, they really will try to be alone, but really, I think that is the key thing that we are missing. Just being supportive and letting men have permission to have an emotion other than anger. you know?
Oh, oh, wow. Letting men have an emotion other than anger.
Yeah.
That is deep.
Well, because very often what we're looking at is their sadness, but it looks like anger. You know, and what I ended up telling my daughter one day, I was like, you know, when daddy talks to you like that, that's really him crying. he just will never cry, but that's really him crying, because the translation of that is, I'm scared something's going to happen to you. But what it looks like is, no. And that is very ineffective, right? Because I said so. But underneath it, I'm scared you're going to be in a car accident. Or, you know, you have friends that drink alcohol. I'm scared you're going to start drinking. You know, that's really what it is. But he just doesn't know how to say it. And so I translated for my daughter. That's daddy saying, I'm scared. So go on back in the house. You don't have to hate him. He's just scared. And he also wasn't raised in American culture where people behave in this manner. So you need to understand he was not 17 in the U.S. He doesn't know that everybody has friends that have different everything here, you know?
It's true.
You know? And so that's sort of...
Whoa. Whoa. Okay. I'm going to ask you the last question before we get to the Q&A.
Okay.
And this is, I'm so happy that everyone who has spoken here has spoken, because sisters, this is like us getting free therapy or group therapy.
Which is even better.
Yeah, it's better because we're all learning together.
Yeah.
You know how much you have to pay to see Dr. Sabrina? Okay. You can book an appointment afterwards.
I'll work with you.
Okay, but the final question is about self-care for women. So many of us are carrying so much load. And when I tell women that I go on solo trips every year, unplugged, 4 days off without my phone, before I got remarried, they would say, oh, it's because you don't have a husband. Now that I have a husband and I told him immediately we got married, dude, I still have to do my ritual. 4 days alone. Even when we have kids, I'm going to go 4 days alone, I'm going to leave you a baby, I'm going to leave. And 2 years now, he has allowed me to go on my ritual. But some women can't do it. They just can't do it. But what is a simple, easy self-care routine that every woman must think about?
So every human being must find 5 minutes, 3 to 5 times a day, to breathe. I mean, it sounds so simple, right? But it is so critical for our health. And I tell people, when everyone comes to see me, the first thing we do is take a breath.
Yes.
Even if we're Skyping. I got some sisters in Nigeria that Skype me, and we start with a breath.
It's true. That's what she does.
Yeah, I don't care where you're from or where you're calling me from, we have to breathe. Like, Sabrina, I can't breathe. I know. That's why I want you to breathe. Like, everything starts with the breath. And it's so simple, it's easy, you can control it. You cannot control many of the things that are coming at us right now. We can't control this crazy presidency. Y'all looking at me, I got family members that voted for this fool. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, God is really like saying, okay, Sabrina, you want to do this work? You gotta practice it right now in your family. Boom. So everything I share, I have to have the class first for myself. So the most critical thing is to breathe, is to keep the belly soft, to take a breath. I call that the sacred pause, you know? And then taking the right hand and placing it over the heart and just taking that breath. So when you do that, so in all the ancient healing traditions, the right hand sends healing energy to the body. So you're sending healing to your own heart. And I don't care if you have 10 kids or no children, all of us work, all of us, whether we work inside the house, outside the house, in and outside the house, we're always working. So you take that hand, you put it over your heart, and you take the breath. It's simple. You see how easy that is? It's not going to cost you any money, but it is absolutely sacred work. And so there's a couple other things I do, but I give people like that is like the baseline, like that is where you start, because that allows you to like recalibrate, you know, to like, do I need to respond right now? Do I need to go further in? To turn off the social media? That's my second most important thing. Turn that thing off. I had a woman come in my office yesterday. She is having PTSD symptoms, for real. She was raised by, I don't even know who raised this woman. But watching the news, she's having PTSD symptoms. I said, so what are you watching? She's watching MSNBC. Turn that off. You know what's going on. You don't need to watch that all day long. Turn it off. She's like, you will know. Trust me, you will know what's happening in our political climate that's impacting all of us. You don't need to watch MSNBC all day long to hear that. So I tell people, if that is what, then figure out what triggers you and make a commitment to turn it off. And if it's a person that's in your household that triggers you, then make a commitment to take that breath even in your bathroom, even on the side of the bed, even in the room where the cats have their litter box. If that's the only place where you can, that's one of my places. That's why sometimes I got to go downstairs in the cat room. But they love you without condition, right? They give you whatever you're seeking. So go to that place and be alone for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 times a day. And that's in addition to those of us that pray 5 times a day. I'm not even talking about that. This is adjunct to what you're already doing. And move. So what I told this woman was that you're watching all this stuff and it's physically harming you. And I said, imagine like you're like the father in that movie, The Incredibles, and like the metal things were on his body. So I said, when you get home, I want you literally throw them off. Because so many things are coming at us. And we're naturally just porous because we're women. Like other people's energy is drawn towards us too. When you get home, throw it off and shake. Literally, shake. So can we end by shaking or is there more?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Don't laugh. You're going to look ridiculous. But guess what?